Greetings comic book fans, I'm Jason. Welcome once again to my comic book reviews. This week's a big week, so we're going to get straight into it. It was a Tyrannosaurus size haul. I'm going to kick things off with a book from the previous week that I picked up. And then I'm going to go my usual format. We're going to start off with our 2 weeklies from DC, rest of DC, Independence, and then finally review those Marvel books. So kicking things off this week with a Marvel book from the previous week. It is an Axis tie-in. It is Captain America and the Mighty Avengers, issue number 1. This was a bit of a strange way to start a series with a crossover. And it seems to be something Marvel are doing a lot lately. I think I can understand with the Spider-Verse books because you're kind of introducing characters with Spider-Verse. So it makes sense then that their first issues are going to be Spider-Verse tie-ins, so that kind of makes sense because, like I said, that's how they're introducing the characters. Or if you had a team book where the team came together during an event, that the event brought them together, then having it as a tie-in, yeah, that could work as well. But to have a book like this that is a previously title that they've just relaunched, the team's already together, it's a bit of a strange way to kick off a series. Made it even worse by the fact that we only really see Luke Cage and Captain America in this issue. We don't really get to meet the rest of the Mighty Avengers. They do set up like what the purpose of the team is and how they're slightly different from the other Avengers, but we only meet 2 characters. So we've got first issue of a team book and we don't meet all the characters. And it isn't like other books in the past where you've had the team are coming together. No, the team's already together, but we still only meet 2 characters, which was a bit strange. What I did like about this, though, is I thought it was a great insight into the changes in Captain America. With all new Captain America, we see how he is regularly. That's how our Cap is always. In Axis, the inversion spell has changed him, and in this we get a real good, solid look at what he's changed. And it's not that he's evil. He's not evil. It's just that those usual barriers that where he wouldn't kill or wouldn't go over a certain line, they're gone now. So he'll act out in extreme ways. So things that would have bothered him before and that he might have just bit his tongue, now he's just going to act out on. And I thought it was a really nice insight, and I liked how you could understand, you could even agree with some of his arguments, but you would never agree with the actions he takes. And it's really it was a really interesting look into the character, into how he's changed. And reading this after reading All New Captain America, I really liked, because you really got to see how the whole Axis thing has changed him. And because in Axis he's come across as just a jerk, that he's just changed into a jerk and a bully. Where this we really get to see more of the motivations behind him. And he's not like I say, he's not evil, he's still wanting to help people, but he just has a more extreme way of doing it now. I also really like the villains in this issue. It's a character who I've not met before. Here he is, the Plunderer and his henchmen, and they jump through the window and they're going to rob these businessmen, get them to transfer their funds to their account. It's kind of like 21st century pirates. I really like them. I said in my whole video, one of the things I missed was some of the more zanier villains who would have these harebrained capers that the heroes would have to stop. That everybody these days seems to want to rule the world. And so it was really nice in this first issue to have the Plunderer as the villain that Captain America goes up against. And again, it really illustrated, after reading the other Cap book and how he reacts when Nomad kills someone, in this it's totally different reaction to a villain getting killed. So he illustrated to show us the differences, but also I really like those villains. They were really zany and funny, and it was just what I was looking for. I also love the art. The artist, I think it's Luke Ross, but I want to make sure I get his name right. Oh god damn it! It's one of those where it's in there. Oh, it's Luke Ross. Yeah, Luke Ross. I really like Luke Ross's art on the book. In fact, I'll show you that first page. Beautiful picture of Falcon, of the new Captain America, the former Falcon, flying over New York. I really like that, and the way that he uses the birds to kind of tell him what's going on. I thought that was really cool. So yeah, the art in this and the writing I really liked. I felt it was let down by the fact that there were characters in the book that I didn't know, but like the way that they're introduced. I'm trying to find the one character. Here he is, this strange dude here in the meeting where we get to see him. He seems a bit insane in the brain, but he you see Cap coming in there, and you get another look at that character. We're supposed to know him. I gather he's been a reoccurring character in Mighty Avengers, the previous run to this. But the way that he's just in there, there's no explanation of who he is. You're just supposed to know. And it did kind of feel more of a continuation of a series than the first issue. First issue should be, you know, really easy for anyone to jump onto, and this wasn't. I found really that really hampered my enjoyment of the book, that it just felt like I'd missed a beat. That it was, oh, check out Mighty Avengers issue 5, check out Mighty Avengers issue 4. And I just fell for a first issue. So yeah, this had problems for a first issue. Definitely, I did enjoy it, and I definitely think once we get past Axis, I think there's a lot of promise in this book. So I'm going to add it to my pull list and hope that it pays off that promise once we get past the whole Axis stuff. But for issue 1 of Captain America and the Mighty Avengers, I give it 3 stars out of 5. So now we're moving on to this week's books, or last week's books. Batman Eternal, issue number 33. I like that cover. I think they've been doing some nice covers to this series of late. Not always great covers, but that one I like. It's a different kind of cover. Anywho, art-wise, Jason Fabok on art. I don't know. I always not too sure about doing the whole art thing, because I don't know how well you can see with my camera. But yeah, Jason Fabok on art for the second issue in a row. So that was really cool. I was really pleased with that, because I really like Jason Fabok's art, and I just think it's nice on this book. If you can, for a few issues, even if it's like for a particular part of the story, if you have a regular artist, I think it just really helps keep giving it a vibe. Though I understand, because of the quickness of the story, not the quickness, I mean the quickness of the release of the issues with it being weekly, it's impossible to have an artist every week. But certainly for arcs, it'd be nice if for each arc you had the same artist. This issue we're dealing with the fallout from last issue. Hush has blown up all of Batman's hidden bases, one of Batman's hidden bases in Gotham, so Batman has to get to the others before they get blown up, and has to shut them all down. So Julia Pennyworth goes into the field with him to help him shut these down, as at the same time Wayne Enterprises are dealing with the fallout from this, because the one base was kind of was registered to them. Yeah, I really like this. I'm loving the way they're building Hush up as this great villain. I really enjoyed what they've done with Hush. I never read the pre-New 52 version of Hush, so I don't know how in tune he is with the original version of the character. But certainly the character they've been building here has been fantastic. He always seems at the moment to be one step ahead of Batman, which is brilliant, and he's really building up as a worthy adversary. There's a really good scene between Hush and Bard, where Bard is beginning to feel he's treading the deep waters now, and he's getting a bit too deep for him. So I'm really looking forward to seeing where that's going to go. Hopefully at some point we might get Bard's origin story of how he came to be with Hush. But yeah, you can see he's beginning to have reservations, and that was really interesting, as Hush is just focused on not just destroying Batman, but destroying Bruce Wayne as well. He wants to totally annihilate him. We then, Julia Pennyworth is a character that just grows on me more with each passing issue. There's a nice scene between Batman and between Alfred, where Alfred is kind of discussing how so many have lost themselves to Gotham, and he doesn't want that for Julia, and you understand a bit more why he'd rather put up with her kind of looking down on him for being a butler, than telling him the truth of what he really did, and why he kind of wanted to protect her from that life. So yeah, I thought that was a really nice moment, a really nice scene. But Julia as a character is just growing on me more and more, and I really like her as a, just a kick-ass female. Is brilliant. Like I say, throughout the issue we get the fallout to the whole story, and it's interesting seeing it as this is really affecting Bruce Wayne as much as it's affecting Batman, so that was really cool. The only thing that really spoiled this for me was I didn't understand why Batman would have explosives in each base. I could understand having all the different bases throughout Gotham and having weapons there even, but I didn't understand because I cannot recall Batman blowing stuff up in the past. So why would he need explosive in each base? I don't get it. Maybe having one with explosives just in case, but every one? Nah, I just didn't understand that. But other than that, and that's probably a minor nitpick, but yeah, I'm enjoying this series. I think the last month this has really come back into gear. I think they've sorted out the Arkham stuff, which was the weak part of the story. They've got a real good resolution to that, and brought that story to end strongly, and now we're getting into the other stuff that's going on, and I'm just loving this at the moment. And I'd give Batman Eternal issue 33 4 stars out of 5. So moving right along, we move into the other weekly. It's the New 52 Futures End issue number 29. The cover really gives away a big plot point inside, and they kind of had this image in the next week book thing at the back. So it kind of spoiled it a bit last week as well. And I just don't know why they do that. When we praise DC for all how they've kept the secrets of Batman, with Scott Snyder's Batman, and then they do something like a cover like this, which is a really bonehead move. Like when you look inside and you've got an image like that, you could have had something like that on the cover, with them two going into battle and the hero versions of themselves in the back. That you could have had that on the cover, and that wouldn't have given away too much. Yeah, I think DC really let themselves down here with though it's a nice looking cover, but I think this would have been nicer maybe for next week's issue rather than this issue. I like that this issue we get one narrative. I thought that was a nice change. Because every issue usually it reads kind of like an anthology book where we have the different parts of the story. But this issue, yeah, it was nice for one issue just to have one whole story, or concentrate on one part of the story. And it was an important part as a lot of different stories kind of reached their climax. So that was really interesting to see, and I like that they did that for one issue. I also really like that Tim Drake returning to being a hero, but that he was out of practice, so wasn't quite quick enough to get things done in time. I liked that gave it a sense of reality. A world where people can fly, sense of reality, I know. But yeah, you need like these stories to make the fantastical stuff work. You need to ground some parts of it in reality, and the fact that he was out of shape and not in the condition that he would have been if he'd still been a superhero, that added that realism in there for me. Let's have a look. What else did I write here? Oh yeah. So yeah, I like that the whole story thing comes to head. I'm like where they're going with Yamazaki, the big reveal at the end. I liked. This was just a whole load of fun, but I think DC, the shock inside would have had more impact if they hadn't spoiled it on the cover. So I'd give Futures End issue number 29 4 stars out of 5. So moving on to our other DC books this week, we have Justice League issue number 36, and this is the second part of the whole Amazo virus story that they kicked off last issue. Once again, I really like that cover. I think 2 issues in a row now they've had really good covers. And the other thing with this issue, I really like the art. Again, it's Jason Fabok. I can't remember if last issue was his art. It's set 24 hours after last issue, which actually works really well. Because like I know, like when you have like zombie stories, many of them kind of pick up after the whole thing's happened. So I liked that aspect to the story, that this is like 24 hours after the virus has hit. The art here by Fabok I just absolutely loved. I'm definitely becoming a bigger and bigger fan of Fabok's art, because I just really like what he's doing. We've got the Justice League there. have all been affected by the Amazo virus, except for Superman and Wonder Woman, because they are both they're both not human. So I like the redesign there for Wonder Woman by Fabok, and with the silver. So yeah, this was really good. I enjoyed this all the way through. I'm loving the Amazo virus and the whole thing about Batman and Superman have to find patient zero so Lex can make a cure. I like that, and the way that it's mutated now. So the first stage of the virus is like flu-like symptoms. You get superpowers, which are different for everybody, and then you die. And I really like the whole Amazo thing. It was really good. Jeff Johns' writing here is really strong. I especially like how he wrote Batman and Superman. You can really tell there's this strong friendship between the two of them, which was really good and really strong. So I liked that. It also feels like it's a threat that you feel the Justice League would deal with. These are the kind of things that should be going on in this book, and I really enjoyed seeing that. Great start to a story. I just thought I love the art, I love the story, I love the writing, love the usage of the characters, and the climax. I really enjoyed. Really got me excited for next issue. So yeah, for me, pretty early on, this would be Justice League issue 36. This for me would be my pick of the week. We then jump to Batwoman issue number 36. Oh dearie me. Where to start? I found the beginning confusing. We're kind of jumping between two scenes, and because like last issue we jumped forward in the story, because issue 34 happened, then we jumped forward, now we're jumping back, but we're still a month forward from where we finished in issue 34. So yeah, the beginning is very disorienting, and I did find, particularly with the way the story's been told as well at the beginning, I did find it pretty confusing, and it took me a bit to kind of figure out what was happening here. So yeah, that wasn't good. I felt Batwoman was acting out of character, but because she's under the spell of Nocturna, you can kind of pull a lot of it down to maybe it's that. So you kind of give a bit benefit of the doubt. But certainly the scene between Batwoman and Maggie Sawyer definitely felt uncharacteristic for Batwoman. But again, like I say, it might be because she's under the spell. But yeah, it just didn't feel like Batwoman. Jason and Etrigan the Demon, I liked all of that stuff. That was really cool. The last page sets things up nicely for the next issue, and definitely ended the book on a high. I like the return to Gotham of Beth, Batwoman's sister, and she definitely needs her right now because she's going through some bad stuff. I feel the book does have direction, and that's a positive, that we're definitely moving forward. I hope that, you know, and Draco, who does seem to be kind of one of his tropes that he likes to use, this moving forward then moving back. I'm hoping that this is going to be the last time they use this, because it just confuses the heck out of me. We jump forward from issue 34 to 35, we jump forward, now we're jumping back, but we're still a month forward. Yeah, please let this be the last, because I've had enough of that. I feel that this story did have problems, but certainly the direction of the book shows a lot of promise, and I'm hoping it's going to really live up to that promise, and there are positives going forward that hopefully this book will get better. But I'd give Batwoman issue number 36 2 stars out of 5. So next up we have Batman and Robin, and this is our final book of the week. Batman and Robin issue 36. I mean final DC book, I should say. Yeah, final DC book. It is part 4 of Robin Rises. This book was just all action. It was just one kick-ass issue, as Batman and the Bat family just kick ass all across Apocalypse, as Batman wants to get the attention of Darkseid so we can get his son back. So yeah, it was really good. I liked, is it Calabac, Darkseid's son? I liked his whole plan of what he was using, all these things that they'd gathered, that he's looking to repower Apocalypse, that so his father can rise. And I really like the whole father and son thing that's running through this book. I think that's really good. I really like that. Like I say, the action is brilliant. I love Titus in this. I know he's just a dog, but the way he's written and the way he's drawn in this, he's almost a character in his own right, you know. So I really liked Titus in here. I thought that was really good. But yeah, this was great. The last page just got me really excited for next issue, and there were a lot of really great last pages this week. Everybody's going last page crazy with some awesome ways to end the books, and this was just another one that just ended the book on a high, and I'm really looking forward to seeing what's going to next. But if you want a book that's just a load of Batman kicking ass, this is definitely a book for you, and I'd give Batman and Robin issue number 36 5 stars out of 5. So now we move to our one independent book of the week. It is Doctor Who, the 12th Doctor Adventures, issue number 2. This continues our story that we had from last time, where the Doctor went to take Clara skiing, but the planet that had the snow had been terraformed, and it was this hot planet now, and the Doctor sensed something wrong, and they've woken up this creature, this Hypernian, who's been dormant on this frozen world, but now the heat has brought him back around, revitalized him. And this issue is really great. We learn that this creature is called Rancor of Hyperios, and that Hyperios has a history with the Time Lords, and that the Time Lords, with an alliance of worlds, went to war with the Hypernians. And I really liked all that history that we get at the beginning. I thought that was really cool, and really added a bit more to the story and to the characters in the story. I loved the dynamic between Clara and the Doctor in this. That was really cool. A clever way to wrap up the story as well. They're just doing such a great job on this. See, here we go. We get like the beginning of the book. We get like the history of this race, the Hypernians, and then we meet Rancor. Yeah, the story all the way through I really liked, and I think they settled on a good thing, that you knew who was the Doctor and who was Clara without trying to make them too exact. Yeah, these Doctor Who books I'm just really enjoying. They've been fantastic so far, and this was another really great one, and I'd give Doctor Who 12th Doctor Avengers issue number 2 5 stars out of 5. So moving on along now to Axis issue number 6. What can I say about this? The art was very disappointing. It is not what you would expect for an event-landed book. I don't know if it's the fact that they've had to rush, the artist has to rush to get so many issues out. I don't know what it is, but the art in this book was really, really disappointing. And the artist, Dotson it is, I'll get the guy's name, it's inside the front cover. It's Terry Dotson with Rachel Dotson as Inca, and then Edgar Delgado and Jesus Aburtonoff as your colorists. But yeah, I do like these pages that they do with all the characters. I think that's a good idea. But then you look at the art, and it's just not what you would expect for an event. It's very, very disappointing. And I don't know if it's the inker, the way that they've inked it. I don't know enough about inking to really understand. But yeah, the art, I found the art disappointing here. Or is it the colorist? I still think the colors are too bright for the story. I think, you know, it's not supposed to be an upbeat kind of story. It's pretty dark because of the change around, and I don't think the colors help illustrate that. But yeah, I wasn't impressed with the art at all. Story's fast moving, which is a positive, because in the past that the stories have kind of dragged. So that's one thing. The story does move fast here. We move from thing to thing, and they're really including a lot in here. So as we're getting to see stuff, they do attempt to give us the story some emotional core, some heart. It fails because we're jumping around so much that we don't really get no build, and they just feel kind of tacked in. I don't know what it is, but yeah, those attempts fail, but at least it is attempted. There's some good ideas here, some very good ideas, just not realised. this event is turning into a real big disappointment, especially since it's got Rick Remender on writing it. I had really high hopes for this one. So far, it's been a disappointment. Like I say, some good ideas, just not realised, and I'd give issue 6 of Axis 2 stars out of 5. So moving on along now, we have another Axis tie-in. It is Magneto, issue number 12. Starts off a bit confusing because we're jumping back to issue 3 of Axis, and that's one of the problems sometimes with these tie-in issues. You really have to manage them so they come out at the right time. If this had come out, you know, bad. But then I say that, but this kind of takes us through. Yeah, basically, I think it takes us through the events of issue 3. So yeah, it could have been released the same time or the week after issue 3, because it's a bit late now. You kind of got to remember back to where we were like a month ago, really. So yeah, starts off confusing. The story as it gets going then is good, and we kind of zoom around a bit, so it's a fast-paced story as we're cramming on a lot in here. We're trying to tell a lot of events from Magneto's point of view. The flashbacks I really like, and Colin Bunn has done a great job with the usage of flashbacks all the way through this run, as they often are there to build up something that's happening in the present, these flashbacks to the past. And in this time, we get flashbacks to when Xavier and Magneto first knew each other in Israel. And I really like that, and I like that they're illustrated in different colours to, you know, here's our regular stuff, and then the flashbacks are illustrated with a different colour palette, which I really like, as instantly it kind of gives you that instant thing of, oh yes, we're in a flashback now. So I like the flashbacks. As always, a great insight into Magneto and what makes him tick and to what he's thinking. Really enjoyed this by the end, and seeing the turnaround as the effect of the inversion spell, which I found interesting because we haven't really seen that in the main Axis book. And this again, like Captain America and the Mighty Avengers, fleshes out a character and something that's happened in that book a lot more and adds a bit more to it. So yeah, if you're enjoying Axis, this is definitely one to pick up if you want to see what's going on with Magneto. And I thought it was another fun issue, and I'd give Magneto issue number 12 4 stars out of 5. So our last tie-in of the week to Axis, it is Avengers World, issue number 16, and this was why I jumped back onto Avengers World, because this whole thing of Doom setting up his own Avengers, I was very interested in. It's not your Premier League group. It's kind of like they get called the Availables because they're the only heroes left. And basically, Doctor Doom, if you read Axis issue 6, Scarlet Witch goes after Doom, and he knows she's going to be coming for him. So he gets Valeria to set up a team that will help him defeat Scarlet Witch. And that's the premise of the book. I really like the premise of the book, and it ties in beautifully to issue 6. If you've read issue 6, this really adds to some of that story, particularly the Doom part of the story. Like the idea of the series, like the setup. The characters are interesting. Some of them I didn't know, but they're interesting. And I like the look of this team. It's a different and an interesting kind of team. I did have a slight problem with Valeria, as I felt she looked too old. I thought she was, like on the cover, she looks quite young. But when you see her inside, I'd think she was like a teenager. Because one of the things about the book is I did really like the art. Especially like if you look at Doctor Doom, the way they draw Doctor Doom. So here we got Valeria visiting S.H.I.E.L.D. Virgin Maria Hill, and you look at her there, and she looks more like a teenager than like, you know, a young child. So yeah, that was a bit odd. I did like these things at the top here. I don't know how well you can see, but like we had the original Avengers team, and they had in Hickman's book, they do a version of that in here, which I liked. I thought that was really good. I'm trying to get a good picture of Doom, but I can't find one when I want one. Yeah, but it's the way he draws him around the eyes. He really gets the detail in there. Oh, I might be thinking about another book, but yeah, this was really good. I really enjoyed this. Um, it wasn't as awesome as I was hoping it was going to be, but it was a fun book, and I think it added to the Access event. And I'd give Avengers World issue number 16 4 stars out of 5. So now moving along now to New Avengers issue number 26, and this continues our story 8 months into the future. As you can tell from the cover, we get to find out what's happened to Iron Man. In all our like 8 months in the future books, Iron Man's been missing. So this issue, we kind of find out what's been happening to Iron Man. What happened to him? Where did he go? What's he been doing? We get to find out all that in this issue, which was brilliant. I'm really enjoying these 8 months in the future books. I'm really enjoying them and piecing together everything as like Hickman gradually gives us the pieces of the puzzle. I'm really liking that. I liked Iron Man here. I couldn't quite decide if it's still the Axis inverted Iron Man or if he's back to normal, because Iron Man's always behaves a certain way whichever version he is, so I couldn't quite make out which version he was here. I really liked as well seeing Doctor Doom's plans, and that's really cool because, like, you know, the world's gonna end. Doom ain't gonna take it lying down, or isn't going to take it lying down. So it's really interesting seeing Doctor Doom working with the different villains. I thought that was really cool. And the reveal at the end, because we see these two characters at the beginning and their identities revealed at the end, which is brilliant. The art in this book, I don't know who does the art. It's not a name I recognise. Kev Walker, but I did really like the art here. And Hickman's writing was really good. Like the way they draw Doctor Doom, I don't know how well you can see that, but the way around his eyes you can see the burnt flesh. I like that. We get to see Val again. I'm wondering with all the Secret Wars stuff, because like all this end of the universe stuff has been caused by somebody. Somebody set it up or set it off, and I'm just wondering, could there be behind all of this, and is this going to be the thing that's going to set up the new Secret Wars? Is it really the Beyonder who's behind all this and wants for some reason to destroy the 616 universe? That's something that I've kind of started to think. Would it been somebody out there who's done this, started this chain of events? So I'm really curious to see where this is going. Really enjoyed this issue. It's a great time to get the book if you can get the other issues of this. It's not a book you can kind of just jump into. You need to kind of at least get to the start of the 8 months later stories, and one thing that might put people off, you do need to be reading both Hickman Avengers books, because they both kind of build the same story from different angles, and they work really well together. You'll be missing pieces of the puzzle if you only read one. So yeah, it's a good book if you can get from the 8 months later beginning of that storyline. You get it because it's really good at the moment. And I'd give New Avengers issue number 26 5 stars out of 5. So jumping on to Hickman's other book, which is a bit rare to have them both out in the same week, we have Avengers issue number 38. I bloody love this. This was another really good issue. With Hickman's writing, at times it can feel pretty... It can be pretty difficult to sit through, and you might drop off and come back. I know I've dropped off this book twice and come back. To parts of the story that I've just found impenetrable or not really know where we're going and stuff. This is one of those issues that makes that journey worth it. That if you've stuck with this from the beginning, you get your payoff, you get your reward this issue. As this issue really explains a lot of that early stuff and how it's impacting now. How they're like, this is like, I don't know how long later, because they're 8 months in the future. So is it like 18 months later? that they're finally understanding all what's gone on, and where the readers also are beginning to understand all what's gone on. So that is really cool, and it's a really great issue to get, you know, if you're a long time reader, because you're really getting your payoff. I'm loving Hotspot and how they've built this character up and are using him. A lot of the characters that we kind of were introduced, and I know I was one of the ones who was complaining, we've got this big team but we don't see some of the characters. Now some of those other characters are really becoming bigger parts of the story, and Hotspot's one of those who's really stepped up and has become a really big character, and I'm really happy to see what they're doing with him. I'm loving that they added Cyclops to the story and the mutants. That adds a whole nother layer to the story, to what the mutants are doing and what their reaction to this whole kind of thing. All I'm saying is 2 words: Phoenix Egg. But yeah, the whole mutant stuff, because that's another part of the story, like what's happened to them in the 8 months since in the future. So yeah, that adds a whole other thing to the story that I really like. Loads of cool reveals throughout the story and things I've explained, and I just really loved this issue. I thought it was really, really good, and I give issue 38 of Avengers 5 stars out of 5. So now moving on to Inhuman, issue number 8. This was another really good issue. I'm catching up on the first 6 issues, because I jumped onto this on issue 7, which issue 7 is a good jumping in point. This issue we get characters from further back of the book, so you know, if you've read early issues it's good, but I still think you can be following the story from issue 7, so don't worry if you haven't got the funds to go back. I'm really liking Frank McGee, or the character they call Ner, but he wants to keep his human name. I really like his character, and I'm hoping we'll see a lot more of him. He's really cool. The story's very fast paced and it moves along brilliantly, doesn't hang around. I like the final showdown at the end with Maximus the Mad as they're trying to get Black Bolt back. I thought that was really cool, and what happens to him was brutal but was cool all at the same time. I was slightly disappointed with the ending, because I just felt that I wanted to see the reunion of Medusa and Black Bolt, and we don't get that. But other than that, I thought this was another really good issue. I'm really enjoying it, and I'd give Inhuman issue number 8 4 stars out of 5. So jumping along now to the Fantastic Four issue number 13. This was another fantastic issue. We have a prison break this issue as they break the Thing out of jail, which I like that, and that was really cool. Leonard Kirk's art is just the best I've ever seen it. The last couple of issues, it just seems to have reached this whole new level of consistency, and I'm really enjoying his art. We get to, as you can see from the cover, they get the blue outfits back, which is cool. We get to learn a little bit more about who's behind recent machinations, which is interesting. And this book is just brilliant. It is really brilliant right now, and it's really sad that with the debacle of a film that's due to come out that seems to be nothing to do with what the comic is, and this book being cancelled, it's a bad time to be a Fantastic Four fan. But this book makes it, at least for the short term, a good time to be a Fantastic Four fan, because it's really rewarding you with some really great stories. Robertson just seems to really get the characters and the family dynamic, and he's doing a great job with the book and with bringing in some of the history of the characters. And Kirk's art is just fantastic. Really great time to be reading this. I give Fantastic Four issue number 13 5 stars out of 5. So next up we have Uncanny X-Men issue number 28. I really like this story, loving what they're doing with Cyclops and seeing him and Matthew, and they have so many similarities. I really like that, and they seem to be reaching Matthew. That was really cool, and I like that. The where they're taking Beast as a character is interesting as he comes to a realization this issue, so that was really cool as well. Chris Anker's art, initially when I flicked through this, I didn't like it, because if this is according to this, I think he does the inks and the colours, and at first I didn't really like it, but when I got to reading the story, actually reading it, I really liked his art. And I don't know if it's, you know, what it was, but it really grew on me, and I really enjoyed this. We have this great bit where Cyclops is going through his life and letting Matthew go through his memories as he shows him his whole life, which I really like. That montage was really good. But yeah, the whole book, I did, the art really grew on me. So Chris Anker is definitely an artist I'm going to be looking out for, because like I say, I liked his art and his use of space and that as well. I really liked the story. I say I really liked. The last page is kind of again ruined by the cover, which is a bit of a bonehead move by Marvel there. Much like earlier with Future's End, it does feel, you know, spoil the last page. But I'm really enjoying this book, and I'm loving what they're doing with Cyclops, and it's much more become Cyclops' book than the team at the moment. It's much more into Cyclops and into what he's going through and his whole state, and it's really interesting, really good. And I'd give issue number 28 of Uncanny X-Men 4 stars out of 5. So we're moving along to the last straight now. We have Black Widow, issue number 12. This was a really good issue. Phil Noto's art is still really cool and really awesome. Like when you've got, he's done the cover, but then you open up the book and the art in the side is like the same level as the cover. It's like, oh my god, really good. I just really love how he's drawing this book and all these characters. He does a really great job. Basically, Black Widow's off on this mission in Somalia to do this rescue mission. While she's away, there's this news report on TV where they basically out Black Widow as an assassin, and yeah, it's really bad. It's kind of like where Captain America Winter Soldier goes, where she's like been outed. The world knows she's an Avenger, but yet she also does this other stuff. So yeah, I really like that, and I really like the direction of the book. Black Widow's mission, while I like the inner monologue that goes along with the mission, I didn't really, the mission didn't feel like anything, but then it didn't really need to be anything. The main part of the story was that while she's away, that she's been outed. The end was really shocking, as this book does. It pulls no punches, and you're like, oh my gosh, I can't believe that happened. But I'm really excited for the direction of this book. There's some really interesting stuff coming up, and I give Black Widow issue number 12 4 stars out of 5. Next up we have Daredevil issue number 10. Love that cover. That is one of my favourite covers this week. Inside we get the conclusion, of the whole Purple Children, Purple Man story. I really like this. I thought, like, because they make Daredevil feel really depressed and bring all these demons out, and it's a really great insight into depression. Some of Mark Waid's writing in this, the way that he describes depression here at the beginning, is really good. It really brings across, if you don't know about depression, it really does a great job of bringing across what depression is and how somebody is when they're depressed. So I really like that. I thought that was really great writing at the beginning there by Mark Waid. The story I thought was brilliant. It builds to a touching end, and I'm really liking the character of Kirsty McDuffie more and more, and there's a really nice moment at the end between her and Matt. The story itself was really great. As Daredevil has to try and overcome these children who together can affect your emotions. At the same time, he's having to deal with Purple Man. So yeah, there's a lot of really cool stuff. The art by Sam Lee, once again, is top class. But yeah, I really enjoyed this. Another really good issue. This team just keep knocking them out. Really great stuff. And I give Daredevil issue number 10 5 stars out of 5. Next up, we have The Punisher, issue number 12. This was another great issue. What they do is they took Frank out of LA. The Souls, the group the gang that he took down, the brother of the leader that he killed, has kind of come in and took over, and he's got this new mission as they look to take over LA. You've got the Howling Commandos who have kidnapped the last remaining family Frank has, to try and lure Frank out to them so they can capture Frank. And basically LA's just gone to hell. So how's Frank? And then you have that, and then you put Frank back into that situation, and that's what we get this issue, and it's really cool. Seeing Frank plan and prepare to do, and then to see that plan be executed was really good. And the last page, oh my gosh, the last page was just so freaking awesome. I geeked out. It was awesome, an awesome moment. Really enjoying this book. This book just is on a level now. Every issue just is banging it out, really great. And I give The Punisher issue number 12 5 stars out of 5. So now we have Guardians of the Galaxy issue number 21, and this kicks off the whole Planet of the Symbionts story arc. I'm really glad we're past that last story now. I felt it dragged for 3 issues. It dragged. They could have done that in 2. But this issue, things get kicked off really great. Loving the Peter Kitty relationship. I think that's really cool. Though I always really like Kitty Pryde as a character. I like what's going on with Venom here, as he can't quite control the symbiont the further he gets away from Earth, and that's really interesting and cool to see. The last page, I said this week, has some fantastic last pages, but the last page, oh my gosh, it was another great geek out moment. Definitely a return to form. You could argue not a lot happens here, as it's really the setup. It's the first chapter, it's the setup, but it reconnects us with all the characters, gets the story going. I just really enjoyed it from start to finish, and I love the look and the design of Venom. As you know, you've got as Flash is struggling to control him. So the art as well was really good, and I'd give Guardians of the Galaxy issue number 21 5 stars out of 5. So our last 2 books are both Spider-Verse books. First up we have The Amazing Spider-Man issue number 10. This is part 2 of Spider-Verse. First things first, the art in here is awesome. This is what an event book should look like, and it's not an event book, but this is like when I say the art to access is not event standard art. This is what I mean. The art in here is just fantastic. Olivier Coipel excels himself. Great stuff. The events in this issue, loads of shocking developments. The story's constantly moving and evolving and changing. I have a slight gripe that it feels like it's setting up a lot of other books, because there are a lot. The story does kind of break off in a lot of directions. But then again, when you've got so many characters, that's going to happen. So it's probably a good usage of those other books. But it did feel kind of at times like this was just an you were paying for an advertisement for other books, and that slightly made me a bit grouchy. But I'm really loving the whole Spider-Verse story. The art's fantastic, and if it keeps being this good, it's going to easily be the event of the year. I give Spider-Man, Amazing Spider-Man issue number 10 4 stars out of 5. And our final book this week is Spider-Woman issue number 1. This is a Spider-Verse tie-in. Again, a strange way to kick off a series as a tie-in. Some of the other Spider-Verse books where they're new characters, I can understand. Maybe, starting it as a Spider-Verse tie-in. But with a character like Spider-Woman, why they couldn't have waited until the Spider-Verse thing was done, I don't know. Maybe they think this is a good way to get people onto the book with a good event, I don't know. But yeah, it is a strange way to kick off a series with a tie-in. I liked the story itself. I thought it was great fun. Basically, Spider-Woman's mission is to keep Silk safe. That the Inheritors can trace where Silk is. So Spider-Woman and Spider-Man Noir have taken Silk, and they're basically running from the Inheritors. But Silk's thinking it's been one big adventure, and Spider-Woman's like, no, this is serious. You know, we've got to keep you. This isn't about being a hero. We've got to run. We've got to keep hiding from these people. And it's kind of, so their characters kind of clash in this. I like the inner monologue of Spider-Woman. Kind of, you get across that she's this more battle-seasoned kind of character that's seen more, and I like that. The art wasn't as bad as I was expecting it, and especially when they go to like back to the like Spider-Man Noir's world. I like the colours are slightly different to the first world we see, and the art isn't horrible. There were still moments like this moment here where you've got Silk here in kind of striking a pose. So there's still kind of some moments, but overall the art wasn't as bad as I was expecting it to be. So I thought that worked. Like I say, still a strange way to start a series, but this was fun and better than I was expecting, and was a lot of fun. And I'd give Spider-Woman issue number 1 4 stars out of 5. So that's me done. My longest ever video, 50 minutes. Really sorry about the length of this one. Next week's only going to be 15 books, so it's going to be a lot shorter, so fingers crossed. I will be back on Wednesday with a haul video for definite. My review video will probably be up around Monday next week as well. I start my new hours next week. Instead of 7.5 hours, I'll be doing 11-hour shifts. So I've got 2 shifts. I got a shift Thursday and I got a shift Friday. So there's going to be no way I'm going to be able to. I've read my books and then review my books. So yeah, it's going to be Monday next week. You're going to get the reviews. Hopefully earlier in the day than this. But anywho, thank you very much for watching my video. I know it's a bit of a monster this week, but yeah, normal service will be resumed next week. Thank you for watching, as I said. I hope you've enjoyed all your books and you've enjoyed this video. If you have enjoyed the video, please give me those beautiful thumbs up. Let me know you like what I do. I will be back on Wednesday. I've been Jason. These have been my comic book reviews. Bye for now.